NutraCast.
Cool shoes. My brother would love those.
Ooh, I don't share my sources.
Well, I just found them using Circle to search with Google on my new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6.
What?
And I texted them to my brother on the other side of this massive screen.
Where did you get that phone?
Lucky for you, I don't gatekeep my sources. Tell them.
Get your own Galaxy Z Fold 6 now at Samsung.com. Requires internet connection. Results may vary by uniqueness, clarity, and framing of circled image and related factors.
This is Kristen Bell.
And Adam Brody.
And we're dating.
In our new show, Nobody Wants This.
Right. We're not really dating.
No, in real life, we're married.
Right. Married to other people, not each other.
Oh, this is complicated.
Right. It's just like our love lives in Nobody Wants This, a show about what happens when a bold and sometimes provocative podcast host finds her unlikely match in a sweet traditional rabbi.
You can watch every episode of Nobody Wants This now, only on Netflix.
There's a change happening in the way we live, the way we work, the way we spend our money and make our decisions. We are evolving to be more conscious in our actions in a way that serves the world and makes it a better place. Welcome to the Ethical Evolution. The Ethical Evolution podcast is brought to you by Ethical Change Agency. I'm Bindi, I'm the founder, and my mission is to help ethical entrepreneurs and holistic healers to find their voice through spiritual coaching and podcasting. I'm honoured to bring you the stories of those who create change through healing, kindness, innovation, purpose, and spirit. Understanding that to create collective change, we need to be the change. It all begins with us. Hey, before we get into this episode, I just wanted to let you know that you can now grab my album of guided meditations. It's called Sourced by Spirit, and it's on all streaming platforms, including Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Tidal, YouTube Music, and many more. There's 11 guided meditations ranging from 4 minutes through to 10 minutes to help you reset your mind and your body at any time. Okay. Now, let's get on with the show. Certified in Mindset Coaching and Neuroscience, Zahra Karsan is an inspirational public speaker as well as a trusted personal success and leadership coach to dozens of global executives. Voted by Yahoo Finance as Top 10 Success Coach, she is the best-selling author of 6 Weeks to Happy and the creator of the R.E.W.I.R.E mindset system, a groundbreaking methodology that retrains your brain for greater happiness, health, wealth, and success. Her company, GetZENd, offers a suite of interactive tools that include online video training and live workshops to help you stay on track with your life goals towards happiness and success. Zahra sits on the board of the World Happiness Foundation, whose mission is to create a world where we can be free, conscious, and happy. Zahra returns to the Ethical Evolution podcast by popular demand to give us a masterclass on happiness, how to find it, how to keep it, and how to grow it. She's also sharing a special gift for listeners. Visit 6weekstohappy.com and try the Life Block quiz. Use the promo code REWIRE20 and get 20% off the quiz and the ebook. Welcome back, Zahra, to the Ethical Evolution.
Thank you so much for having me, Bindi. What a treat to be back with you.
Now, we were just chatting off air. It was February 2022 when you were last with us on the show, and we were talking about happiness then. But today we're going to revisit that, but we're going to do a bit of a masterclass on happiness. And first of all, for those people who haven't listened to that episode and don't know who you are and what you do you want to go ahead and tell us?
Sure. So my name is Zahra Karsan. I am an expert in positive psychology and neuroscience, really all things human behavior. My original background was as a management consultant. That was my first career for over 20 years. And I became a trusted advisor to global executives. I got to lead really large projects. I mean, like $5 million to $45, $50 million projects with 200 people underneath me, very high stress, but I achieved a great level of success. And human behavior and understanding diplomacy and how to inspire and motivate people all was always part of my fascination. And so then I took it and decided to start a second career in coaching. I built a meditation app, which is now transmuted into a bunch of different things. And so now I get to work with people and share the tools and the science of happiness and well-being, not just on the individual side, but now in the corporate world as well, because we've just launched our company called R.E.W.I.R.E for well-being. And that product is all built into an app where we get to build fitness, nutrition, mental well-being, and stress management all in one easy to use formula. So, I think these tools are core life skills that really should be taught in school and throughout life. And most of us as adults started stumbling around in the dark trying to figure it out for ourselves. And I thought, why don't I just put a little package together and put all the simple tools in one easy to follow roadmap for individuals and companies and help people do that for themselves. So that's how we're here.
And I love this. The last time we spoke, we were talking about your book, which I think had just come out, which is 6 Weeks to Happy. I'm already seeing the connection between the app that you have and that book. And I remember then we were talking about the different, the slices of the pie, if you like, that we have in life that we really need to nurture, for happiness. Do you want to just take us through those quickly as a bit of a refresh?
Sure. What was really interesting and how the book came about, so it was published in September of 2021, and we talked just a few months after that. So it did extremely well, and I was very humbled because I really just was searching for a way, like in the coaching and therapy world, most life issues, dissatisfaction, disorders, mental issues go untreated because most people don't have, it's a self-check-in process. You have to rate yourself, you have to figure out and really realize there's a problem or there's something missing and seek out that treatment. And so I was really searching for a way for the 75 to 95% of people that don't seek out a solution, but really desperately need something. They're aware something's wrong, they're aware something's broken or missing, and they just don't know where to start. And so I started a coaching practice and started seeing these amazing transformations in my clients. And then what came out of it was my own skepticism, probably because I'm a bit of a science geek, and I really wanted to understand the science behind what I was seeing. I wanted to understand what was the data, what's the empirical evidence that's showing me what I'm seeing in these amazing clients that are transforming themselves in their lives and feeling happier, more at peace, more relaxed, more productive, healthier than ever before. And as I started studying neuroscience, which is the study of the brain and the nervous system, it's also the study of, where is the mind, how the brain processes thoughts, feelings, stress, what happens when stress impacts the body. And then also positive psychology, which is really the science of optimal health and well-being, is I started to see all this data just line up and confirm what I was seeing in my clients. And I thought, this is a system, this is a methodology, it's a set of tools I can actually teach people. And that became the book. So the book is really a 6-week plan to rewire the brain, the body, the nervous system from stress and fight or flight back to calm and back to balance. Because many of us unknowingly, it's almost like we've gone into the gym and we've strengthened, like you would strengthen a muscle by working your bicep over and over and over. We've unknowingly strengthened our stress response. We're so good at it. Most of us live in it all the time. We live in fight or flight. We don't even turn it off. And that feeling of being exhausted, that feeling of being disconnected from our bodies became normalized. We thought that was normal, and it's not. So teaching people how to recreate that mind-body connection again, really understand how to feel when stress is occurring in the body, in your breathing, in your tightness of the chest, are you breathing from your diaphragm? Are you breathing from your belly? Are you just breathing up here in your shoulders? Where are you holding tension in the body? We hold tension in our face. We hold tension in our shoulders, our back. I mean, most of us have this, this shoulder tension all the time. And so I thought, okay, where do I start to create a 6-week system? We created a 6-week system because 6 weeks is where we can see on fMRI studies in neuroscience, is where you can see in brain scans, basically, lasting signs of change in the brain and therefore in the nervous system as well. And so 6-week program made sense, and that's why it's called 6 Weeks to Happy. So the elements of the book are, in week 1, we go right in, and it's learning how to relax and quiet the mind. So we're first training the brain back to balance, the brain and the nervous system. And part of that on the individual side is also understanding that we are actually wired for survival. So that fight or flight response is meant to be intact to keep us safe. But we evolved over time to be really good at that, because when we were living in nature, when we were living in the bush, and you suddenly had a threat imposed on you, like something wrestling in the bushes, a bear or a tiger or a snake, or wherever you're in Australia, so a snake, or kangaroos are probably less fierce, but yeah, maybe a snake.
Oh, don't worry.
And it gave us that push of adrenaline so that we could rush and run off to safety. But what happened back in those days is our brains signaled our bodies when it was safe, when the threat has disappeared, and said, okay, there's no immediate danger. It's okay to return back to calm. In today's busy world, where we're living in these societies where we all have these little things called mobile phone. And I don't know if you remember, back 20 years ago, we had a phone at home. Maybe it was a landline.
Yep.
And one voicemail. It was probably a voice answering machine.
Yep.
And then we had a work landline and a voicemail at work. And we had 1 or 2 email addresses. Now, think of the number of channels pinging us at any one time. We now have social media channels. We have multiple email inboxes. We have voice messages in every app. We have video calling in every app. We have text messages in every app, DMs. How many different channels do we need to respond to? And what happens is, every time your phone pings, it's something requiring your time, your attention, and it causes us stress. It's an immediate signal to the brain to say, uh-oh, get on alert. And so we really need to learn to retrain away from that. And part of that survival thinking as well, part of those survival mechanisms, at least on the individual side, is we are 5% conscious mind and 95% subconscious. All that fight or flight stress response is in the unconscious, subconscious piece of us. And along with that comes all of these belief systems. We all have, as human beings, 5 core needs. They are to feel needed, to feel connected, to feel like we have a sense of belonging, and we belong in this world, that we belong in our communities, that we belong in our families and with our loved ones. We are social beings. The 2 is we have the need to feel loved. The 3rd is we need to feel safe, protected, supported. The 4th is we need to feel deserving and capable of wealth and abundance and freedom from worry. And then the last is we need to feel like we are enough. We need to feel like we are good enough, beautiful enough, loved enough, safe enough, all of those things, smart enough, capable enough. And so when any of those 5 are missing, it becomes part of your unconscious strategy. So let's say you have a belief system that says, I'm alone in this world, and that's a subconscious belief system. There are fear patterns attached to that, and there are triggers attached to that are all connected. So it steers back to when you were a child. So if for the first time you felt alone in this world, it was something fearful or traumatic happened at the age of 2. What happens in that moment is certain negative emotions like fear, confusion, frustration all get triggered. And then that gets lumped together with the belief that you're alone in this world. Let's say, you were crying, mother put you down, she needed a break, you needed a timeout. It was really nothing traumatic that happened, but in that moment, you felt very uncared for and unsupported and unloved or alone. One of those beliefs popped up to explain the situation at hand, and that then became part of your wiring. So now, those emotions, fear, frustration, confusion, all get lumped together. Maybe sadness, maybe anger, maybe hurt. Any of those emotions that popped up get coupled together, and because we are also part animal, they get, it's like stimulus response. They get physically coupled and anchored in your physical body. And over time, what happens is when any of those emotions or that situation or that feeling I'm alone gets triggered again, you get an automatic response. And in that moment where you said, I feel alone, your body decided to couple a response or a fear pattern, a pattern of behavior, in other words, with that. And what that could mean is maybe your survival mechanism or your fear pattern said, when I feel alone next time, I'm going to shut down, I'm going to push everyone away, I'm going to protect myself because it's a survival pattern. And so in week one, we unlock all of that because that's really the source of your core stress and anxiety. So if you think about, use that same example, I'm alone in this world. Is it really true, for one? How does it play out in your ability to be in a healthy, loving, open-hearted relationship, for example? If you feel like you're alone, it might not sound like that. It usually sounds something like, if I want something done right, I'll do it myself. Right? Who knows somebody that, that has said that before? We've all heard that. I'm actually one of these people, so I can speak from experience. And so we shut down, we push people away. Now, people need to feel needed. People need to feel dependent upon. This doesn't just occur in your love relationship. It's also going to occur with your children, with your parents, with your friends, with your colleagues, with your business partner, with your team at work. Do you empower them or do you micromanage because you feel like you need to do everything? And what happens is down the road, 20, 30 years now into your career, playing that out is absolutely exhausting. So let's say you're a mother with kids or a father with kids. You come to work, you have that same belief. Do you rely on your business partners or your executive team if you're in a leadership position to do it? Or do you feel like you have to knock everything out yourself? Do you empower and delegate to your team in a way that allows them to do their work? Or do you stay on top of them and micromanage everything? Then you come home. So your day's already utterly exhausting. Then you come home and you realize, oh, I've got to do everything for my kids and my family and my home as well, or it won't get done. That is an absolutely unsustainable pattern. It's like you're sprinting a marathon that never finishes. So we need to unpack some of that to move you into healthier states of being. So in week one is rewire is the methodology. It's called the rewire mindset system that underpins the book 6 Weeks to Happy. And in week one, the first R is for relaxing and learning to quiet the mind. And part of that is we also unpack what those unconscious beliefs are. And I've come up with a very easy way for people to do that. And it's called the Life Block Quiz. And you can find it on our website, which we'll share with you later on in this podcast. And it's really just a set of questions that are designed to elicit your subconscious responses. And also where you are in your journey. Are you still in the unhealthy pattern, or have you done some work and you're moving towards healthier, more growth mindset, more mindset, it's not a word, more of a growth mindset, evolutionary, you're now committed to your own evolution, you're understanding some self-awareness, and you're understanding that you've got to break this pattern. So it also determines, are you still stuck, or are you getting unstuck and moving towards a healthier way of being? So that all happens in week one. And then in week two, the E in rewire, the first E in rewire, is about learning to eliminate the noise. So, okay, now you've learned to quiet the mind. Now let's prioritize what we think is urgent. Because if you're a high performer, or if you're type A, I was both. I still am, because this stuff doesn't go away.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm sure as well, because you're leading how many different companies and how many different business ventures, Bindi.
Yep.
So, right? So two is learning that everything is really not urgent. And so how can you pay attention to what actually feels good and feels right? And that means people, situations, events in your life that require your time, your energy, your money, and learning how to prioritize those just so that you can give yourself some room to choose and give yourself some time to breathe. Again, because this is a 6-week plan, we're creating new and healthier habits. And we need to create some space between everything that needs you now, because otherwise you won't have time to work on what's important. Just create a little space. So 2 is learning how to eliminate the noise in your life and at least put that aside to give you some room to do this work. And then in week 3, we get into what do you actually need? So what is your personal formula for happiness or success? And this one was really interesting to me when I was developing this, because in my coaching practice as a coach, it's my job to look at this otherwise very put together person in front of me, man or woman or whoever, and just say, why is it that they haven't yet achieved their life goals? Like, what's missing? And so it's my job as the coach to get into their model of the world. And what that means is our minds construct these glass houses, if you will, and we put up these walls around us emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. We can't reach that level of success. We can't reach that level of fitness because I've tried so many diets and so many nutrition plans, and I've just never been able to hit my goal. Whatever that belief system is, I need to get into your little glass house, your model of the world, and figure out where you constructed those walls so that I can then help you pull them down. Then the next step is we then define your goals. And what I came to realize is when I had them visualize the end state of what would they feel like when they reached those goals, whether it was in life, health, love, money, career, so many of my clients couldn't actually tell me it would make them happier, more peaceful, more satisfied with their life, more loved, more connected, more of anything positive. And I thought, well, if it's not helping you achieve those goals, then why on earth is this a goal? Is this even yours? Because we don't get a set of instructions when we come into this life. We just get do well in school. Then when you're finished school, pick a career, pick a job, start something, start making money, then buy the house, get the career, get the family, get the kids, get the dog, and some point, happiness will magically show up on your door. It doesn't work that way, does it? We've all discovered that, right? We all did the thing. Goal achievement is not the same as happiness, and it's also not the same as success. It's just goal achievement. So we need to now figure out, who are you? Like, what is the thing that really lights you up, that makes you feel like you are living and working with passion, with purpose, that you are living a fulfilling life, that you are doing the things that feed your soul, that make you feel peaceful and serene and calm and joyful and loved. And so pulling all of those things out in an easy to map out plan. So we give you a life wheel and we give you these exercises to actually calculate, how social are you? You might be more or less social than your partner, for example. There's so many cases when I've worked with couples and one is extroverted and one is introverted, and they really have two separate sets of needs. But then that couple needs to negotiate those things with each other. Okay, you need to go out once or twice a week because you need social contact. I prefer staying at home. How do you negotiate that with your partner so they don't feel left out, so that you still can have your needs met and bring your best and have a full cup all the time so that you can give from a place of love and energy, because you're not drained because you're living somebody else's life. So that's week 3. That's the W. What do you need? What is your formula for happiness and success? And then in week 4, so imagine now we've quieted the mind. We've written your story of subconscious beliefs that are blocking you from the Life Block quiz, from love, happiness, success, health. We've removed the noise. We figured out now, who are you? What really lights you up? What excites you in life? What sort of life do you actually want? Now you can go in and redefine your goals. So now we go in and redefine your goals in a whole new way. So we pull down your walls, and now there's just possibility in front of you. So now you get to redefine your goals in a way that would make you feel as though you're happy, thriving, excited about your life. This way you get to wake up on Monday morning, arms stretched open, excited for the day, versus having to peel your head off the pillow and just dread ahead of you. Nobody wants to wake up like that. And so in week 4, we go into a whole pattern of visualizing what that new set of goals would be. So you start repriming and retraining the brain back to a whole new way of thinking, feeling, and behaving. And then your actions start to line up. Then in week 5, we want to make sure, that's the second R in R.E.W.I.R.E. We want to make sure that you have a daily practice that aligns with you. Not everyone wants to sit in quiet meditation. I'm not a person that can sit quietly in silence. I actually need something else to focus on. So I give myself different types of visualization. I do walking meditations. I do breath work. anything that connects the mind and the body and brings you back to balance. But you have to figure out, it's like a workout in the gym. If someone said to me, Zara, go do CrossFit, hell no. I have a back injury from playing beach volleyball years ago. There's no way I could do burpees and jump up on a box. That would just throw me flat out on my back. So that's a hard no for me. I'm not doing it. Not running a marathon. I'm not swimming 10 miles. I'm not doing that. But there are exercises that I love to do. And moving your body sends a signal to your brain. So you have to figure out what that particular formula is for you. We could have 10 of us sit in a restaurant and order breakfast. I promise you, even if we ordered exactly the same dish, it would not be ordered 10 exact same ways. We all are unique. And so this has to be your unique set of goals that light you up, that make you feel like you have optimal energy for the day. It's not about having the perfect body. It's about making sure you feel like you have that vital energy to get through your day, that you can manage your stress levels, that you can keep your mind quiet so that you can actually be more focused and more productive. And so giving you the tools to do that and making sure you have a daily practice so that you retrain and retrain and retrain that brain. And so over that 6-week period, you're actually creating new neural pathways because the brain is designed to be efficient. So it's going to go back to your old way of being. We've all had that experience where we go to a life-changing course over a weekend and we come home all rah, 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 excited.
Yep.
And we're not entirely sure how to put those tools into practice. And so about 2 or 3 weeks in, we start to unravel and just go back to that old way of being. Well, I didn't want that to happen. I wanted to give you a set of tools to stay and keep that lasting change and stay in that new way of being. So this is actually retraining your brain for a new set of habits. And then in week 6, because that's not enough, because I like to live a big life, I wanted to say, okay, so we've removed the noise, we've quieted we've quieted your mind, we've given you tools to design a whole new life. How about we just elevate it now? Let's go up a notch. Let's take it up and go bigger. Let's dial it up a little bit. So now, think of how many people leave so much on the table when they think of their dreams versus the life they're actually living. And look at the number of people, a much, much smaller percentage, like in the 1 percentile, that actually give themselves permission to have a grand vision for their life. Most of us, when we traveled, it was economy, all inclusive, whatever, if you could afford a vacation, it caused stress. What about that 1% that are up there thinking, oh, I only travel first class and I only want to stay in a 5-star resort? How about you give yourself permission to go big? If that's what lights you up. It's not for everyone. I get it. But whatever it is for you, go bigger. If it's a fitness goal and you've only done a half marathon, maybe you can actually say, wow, if I can do this, I can do the full marathon. What if it's a financial goal? If I can make 100,000, maybe I could make 1,000,000. Whatever that dial up is, the more you do it and set micro goals, it's actually retraining your brain for success. And the more you can achieve that success, the bigger you get to go. So in week 6, we teach you how to do that. And so that's the R.E.W.I.R.E mindset system in the book, 6 Weeks to Happy.
I love it. I just love this stuff. Now, I have, of course, a bunch of questions in the back of my head after all you've just explained. And the first one you're probably going to laugh at, but why is happiness so important to us?
I think it's kind of elusive, right? We think it's a simple answer, but it was years ago. I was on a trip in Portugal with my family, and there was a gentleman who was a little off, I'll say, but he asked an interesting question. I think that was the only reason we met him, because there are no accidents if you believe in energy and the laws of the universe. But he asked the question, "What makes you happy?" And I thought, oh, yeah, I know what makes me happy. And I realized it's actually more complex. And it's the same thing I found with my clients. It was not as easy to answer that question. And so for me, happiness now, again, it's a unique formula. And it needs to incorporate all of the elements you need to feel like you're in optimal health and well-being. Because if you're not healthy, it's harder to be happy. If you're in pain, the brain needs to focus on numbing down the pain so you can get your work done for the day. And it feels miserable. So it needs to include optimal well-being. It needs to include a feeling of inner peace and joy, so freedom from stress and worry, making money, paying your bills, planning for retirement, getting to pay for the education of your children. If you have all of these bases covered, then you can finally get to a place where you can say, okay, you may not already be there, but you're on your way. You have a plan. And so if spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, everything is aligned with who you are meant to be in this world, with who you authentically are, because you are uniquely being yourself. You know your formula for happiness and success. You're not living somebody else's vision for your life, which so many people do when they choose a career. And I think this is why happiness is so important. It's because it's part of, we need to talk about the experience of being human. And I think the experience of having a soul and being human, it's part of the soul's journey. It's part of the human journey to unpack all of that noise so you can truly figure out who you are authentically, who you were meant to be in this world, what your purpose is, so that you can live aligned with that. And when you can do that, and you're looking after yourself spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, everything lines up. You feel better. You feel better mentally. You feel better emotionally. Your physical health miraculously starts to improve once you look after your stress levels, your mental, emotional stuff. All of a sudden, physical health improves. Conditions that were, untreated or undiagnosed, or an injury that was resistant to healing, all of a sudden heals. Because when you're not looking after yourself mentally, emotionally, when you're not living aligned with who you're truly meant to be, your physical body starts to be your alarm bell. It starts to act out and scream at you. Mine screamed at me with a back injury. Then I had an autoimmune disorder. I can give you countless stories of other clients that have, I won't say the world healed or cured, but I will say all of a sudden the symptoms disappeared from conditions like autoimmune disorders like vitiligo, from fibromyalgia, from psoriasis, from so many other conditions. Their blood pressure came down. We have so much evidence to know now that once you start living in alignment and actually doing the things you were meant to do to look after your body, mind, and soul, everything just aligns. And then suddenly a feeling of happiness actually shows up as something attainable. But before that, it's actually really hard to define if you really think about it.
And I guess a lot of people, when they think about being happy, they don't think about, all those elements that they really need to be conscious of in their lives. And I find for me, when you get that alignment and everything's working well together, everything is just in flow. There's no resistance.
Yes.
Everything just is effortless. And I think that's when you've reached that sweet spot, is you're like, things aren't so hard anymore. It's just like, this is living,
Yes, exactly. Things just start to flow and they feel easy and effortless. And then you can wake up in a relaxed state of mind instead of already stressed about your day. You can go to bed at night thinking, I did everything I was meant to do today. That was a good day. And so then you're moving into a state of gratitude, and then your frequency and your energy and your emotions are more elevated from one day to the next. That's a beautiful way to be.
Yeah. One of the other points you mentioned as well was eliminating things out of your life and noise and stuff like that. I know, and one of the things I want to amplify here is the recognizing what doesn't light you up in that space as well. I know for me in particular in my business, I was doing things because I knew how to do them and I could do them really well, but I didn't enjoy it. And I was like, I could do this, for days on end, but it would frustrate me in the end. And I was like, I'm not loving this. And you know what? I have a choice here. I can not do this and have my sanity. And so I chose to take those things out of my business. Yeah, sure, I didn't get income from them anymore, but I had my sanity, and that was more important to me. So I think sometimes we've got to look at what is it that really makes me happy, particularly when we have a choice. And we do have a choice when we're, particularly when it comes to our work, majority of the time, where we can go, you know what, this just is not working for me, doesn't make me happy. and actually really tap into what is it that I want to do that brings me joy and also brings me income.
Yes. That's perfect. And, how you recognize it in yourself and how you recognize it in others. We've all had that conversation with a friend or a colleague where, they're talking about a new idea for a business, or they're talking about something that they're excited about. You can physically see the signs on someone when something lights them up. Like me talking right now. I'm energized. I am smiling. It's you could see I'm sitting up. If you asked me to do to be an accountant, for example, and to sit behind a desk and look at numbers, I can already feel my entire body energy and my entire body just sunk down into the chair. I feel utterly bored and frustrated already. My voice went lower because I'm not at all interested in doing that. Doing this work and being able to help people really step into the best version of themselves is what lights me up. It's what excites me. And it's easy to see in others, so it's easy to recognize in yourself. You sit up straighter. You have more energy when you talk about it. You light up. Your face lights up. You're smiling. You have a ton of energy. If you talk with your hands like I do, then, you're doing a lot of this. But you can feel it when something lights you up. And so we need to start developing an awareness for when something doesn't work for us and when something does. And it's really as simple as saying, does this feel good for me? Yes or no. Like in work, it's a little difficult sometimes because we all need to make money and we all need to make choices to do the things we love. So depending on if you're a person that thrives on task-based work, like an accountant, for example, they're not necessarily going to be a creative type. But if you have a creative brain and that's what lights you up, then you need to be doing work where you get to create things. You get to develop new ideas, new concepts, new innovative ways of doing things. Even in a day-to-day job like accounting, maybe then you're not the accountant, maybe you're the CFO, maybe you're a financial visionary, maybe you're, a stock market investor, because that allows you to use those skills in a creative way because you're looking at emerging markets, or you're studying new things, you're studying new technology. So the trick is figuring out who you are and what are those things that light you up, and then how to apply that either in your work now or maybe choose something a little different. Doesn't mean make an entire change or a career change. And I think that's the part that scares people. But it's how do I make small shifts to get more satisfaction and more purpose and more passion out of what I'm doing.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because I was actually talking to someone today that I mentor, and I was talking about their genius zone, and that they love creating music. They're very creative, and I was trying to mentor them to, stay in touch with that thing that they love so that it lights them up and gives them that energy that they need. And he'd realised that he'd sort of strayed away from it and it had become a hobby. It wasn't, a central thing for him anymore. And I said, that's okay. Sometimes you got to change your priorities for survival. And this isn't a linear thing. Sometimes it's a zigzag, and that's completely fine. But just remember where your genius zone is. Don't ever forget it.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you are, in a job that pays well and gives you the stability you need, stability is also, fulfilling a core need. It gives you freedom from worry. You can pay your bills. You have maybe 20 years in a career. You don't want to lose all of that expertise. But in that case, what's your creative outlet? So finding hobbies, whatever that is, whether it's painting or cooking or writing or expressing in some other way, you need to have those needs met. And that's something we go into in the book as well, is what are your needs? And the thing is, the needs are non-negotiable. So if you're not having your social needs, your creative needs, your spiritual needs, your physical needs met over time, we start to get irritable and tired and cranky and in a state of dis-ease. And if you think of that word, what does that actually mean? And then it shows up in the physical body as when it's gone, prolonged for way too long, unsatisfied. When that need has gone unsatisfied, it starts to wreak havoc, and your body will scream at you and say, get this need met. It's who you are. It's who you were meant to be in this world. If you're playful, you need to be playful. You can't just be at a boring job. If you're creative, you need to be creative. If you enjoy freedom, then you're going to hate going into a job Monday to Friday. So what other ways can you find to get freedom and that value or that need met in your life. So it's really just understanding yourself and doing that deep dive. And if you have the right tools, you can do that.
And you just had me thinking, some people may not be aware or have that self-awareness of what happiness actually feels like in the body.
Yes.
Even, and what we were just talking about there was exactly it. Like when you're in that moment of joy, when you're enjoying what you do, and everything else just falls away, and you've got just this. I don't know. It's almost hard to describe, isn't it? But it's almost like this elation, and it's something that fills your cup, like you said earlier. These are the things that feel happy. And a lot of people don't realize, like, oh, yeah, I really love doing that, but why?
Yes.
Why? And what do you feel in your body when you have that happiness? People just have no awareness of emotions and what they feel like in the body.
That's absolutely right. And so one of the things that's important to cover, and we do this in the corporate program, R.E.W.I.R.E for Wellbeing, is we reconnect the mind and the body because number one, we've forgotten what it feels like to feel at peace. We've forgotten what it feels like to be without stress. Like we get a sense of that when we go on vacation. Maybe it happens like for a second, that first day, let's say you get to a beach vacation, but it's usually that next morning or the third day in or the seventh day into that holiday where you finally feel like you feel your shoulders drop.
Yep.
And you can finally let out that big exhale and you know that you're, okay, I'm relaxed. I'm at peace. Well, what if you could have that feeling every day? That's a beautiful thing. What if you could get into that state of flow every day where you're loving your work, where it's challenging enough, but fun enough and exciting enough that you're actually just easily working away and 8 hours fly by without you even realizing, and you got to quit, not because you're exhausted, but because you have other things to do, like go live your life outside of work. And so you get to, that's that feeling where work doesn't feel like work if you enjoy it, because you're right in the zone. And what does joy feel like? Well, as adults, we forget to play. We know that as kids. And if you have kids, you get to do that more often because you get to participate in their giggles and their joy and their playfulness. But, for those people that don't have kids or never engage with their children in that way, for example, we need to go off and play as adults as well. It's what allows us to unplug. We need to be social. We need to laugh. All of that sends different signals through the brain and the nervous system to say like, oh, there's really no stress here. There's no threat of danger here. I can be relaxed and joyful again. And most of us have forgotten what that felt like. I know I forgot it for many years, certainly as a management consultant with that level of high stress all the time. And it took me years to figure out how to get that back in. So now we build it into the program. There's lots of ways that you can go and spark joy. And if you're a creative person, from studying neuroscience, what was really interesting is if you want to spark creativity and innovation, what do you think the formula is? It was surprising. You have to be relaxed and you have to be happy. And that's where the creativity flows. When I was writing the book, for example, there were so many days when I was sitting there trying a solution. Okay, what is the tool that's going to bring people this? And I would sit there and, be in management consulting world, right? Like sit at my desk, sit in front of my computer, sit with my notepad and try and map things out. No, I had to just stop and understand that the creative process is completely different. Now I get my best ideas when I'm meditating or sitting outside in the sunshine, getting fresh air, or going for a walk. Sometimes when I'm exercising, sometimes it's in the shower, sometimes it's when I'm singing my favorite tune, and all of a sudden I'll have a brilliant idea pop into my mind and the solution to exactly what I was looking for. And all it took was for me to step away and just allow myself to be relaxed, and it just flowed in.
Yeah, exactly. And I call those my autopilot moments. Because it's when you're not consciously trying for an outcome or a solution or an idea that you're disconnected, I guess, from your body and everything else, and you're in that autopilot moment where it just flows in. Like it just, It's like, here you go. Just when you weren't expecting it. So
Absolutely.
and yeah, it's usually those moments like when you're in the shower or you might be washing the dishes or whatever it is, that you're completely focused on your task and not actually thinking about a solution. And I think that is like, if we can tap into those moments and just let go of the solution, it'll find you. Just give it time; it'll come back to you.
Yes, absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
balance is another thing I think that we have to be conscious of, because if we want to achieve all these things in life and we want to have a great career, we want to be happy, healthy, all of those sort of things, there's slices of the pie we have to work on every day, right? So we have to balance out and be conscious of where we spend our time and our effort. How can we do that in a way that doesn't exhaust us?
Oh, that's a great question. So, what you're actually talking about in the world of positive psychology, it's called ego depletion. And it's not about ego, really. It's about stating that we are beings of finite energy. We don't have an endless supply of energy. We need to be fed, we need to be watered, we need to sleep to exist. We need to recharge and restore. And so, from neuroscience and positive psychology, there are certain things that the brain does that takes enormous amount of energy. And if we just had some awareness of it, and I actually go through it as an exercise in the book, and I talk about it like balancing your budget, almost like at a bank, balancing your checkbook. I call it balancing your energy budget. So if you know all of the actual elements that take your energy, for example, if you are in any physical pain, for example, your brain takes a lot of energy just to numb that pain so that you can focus on another task. If you're a leader, and if you lead a family, that's also being a leader. But if you are a manager in a leadership position, making decisions takes an enormous amount of energy. If you're making big decisions every day, and if you're managing people, that takes an enormous amount of energy. Multitasking. Most people say, oh, I'm great at multitasking. Well, guess what? The brain doesn't actually multitask. It task switches. And that switching of tasks actually takes energy. So instead of switching from whatever you're working on to answering an email, to answering a text, to answering a phone call, back to your work, how about you just focus for half an hour on that work, then deal with your phone calls, your text messages for another 15 minutes, come back to your work. It drains less energy from your battery. So we are just like, we are just like the battery on your phone. It has to be recharged. You don't have enough resources to get through the day if you're constantly pulling from your energy resource. So energy in has to equal greater than or equal to energy out. And so if you know the things that restore and recharge you, sleep, hydration, nutrition obviously are important. A good balanced diet versus a high sugar diet will not have you and your insulin levels drop and crash often throughout the day. So knowing and having all of the education on healthy nutrition to make sure your sugar levels are stabilized certainly helps. But what are the other things that restore and recharge you? Guess what? If you're an introvert, it will be more solitude. If you're an extrovert, maybe you need more social contact. If you were working in a virtual setting, for example, we need a flood of neurochemicals, and there's one called oxytocin that we get from human contact. Well, if you're working in a completely remote job and you don't have any social contact, we now need to recreate ways where we can be social. And how you do that is, instead of a phone call, get on a Zoom call, make eye contact. Just me making eye contact with you floods us with that same emotion that we are feeling connected to someone, whether it's in work or in your personal life. Go work remotely at a site where you can actually have contact with other people, even just slightly. It works to give us the energy we need. So, and then playing, oh my God, finding ways to be joyful. If there's nobody around you, watch a comedy show. Watch, I had this conversation with my friend's son one day, and he said, don't you watch this particular show? And I said, my God, no, that's way too much drama for me. My job is so intense that I need something light and fluffy at night. And he looked at me because he was so surprised. He knows me to be a smart person. He's like, you need something light and fluffy? I said, yes, because it's okay. I I need something that makes me feel lightness and joyful. So I will watch a movie that I find funny, or a comedian that I find funny, or a chat show. There's a British one that I used to watch, Graham Norton, all the time. I love him. He's just light, great sense of humor. Whatever lights you up, go play, go have fun with your friends, be silly, have shenanigans, allow yourself to be playful again. That also recharges you. Maybe engaging in something stimulating like music or concert. Live music is one of the best ways. Feeds the soul on a whole different level. Music, dancing, watching a show, seeing an art gallery. If you like art, it fills up your senses. Traveling is a beautiful way to pull you out of your everyday life and just shut it down and give you a whole new way of lighting up your senses visually, auditorily, kinesthetically. What do you see, hear, and feel that make you feel something again? Any of those things to restore and recharge you. So it's really understanding what takes your batteries. Again, if you've eliminated the noise and you've reprioritized things and you've given yourself some space to only do what's necessary on the day when you feel depleted or the week where you feel depleted, you're already doing a good job. That's a great start. And then what are the things that restore and recharge you? And there's so many wearables now that actually track your ability in terms of heart rate variability, in terms of your ability to, they track your stress levels. In the corporate app that we built, Rewire for Wellbeing, we actually have these calm exercises, like a breathwork exercise, where you put on a heart rate monitor for meditation, and you can actually see that at the beginning your heart rate is sporadic, it's incoherent, it's like this, and then as you start to calm down with the breathwork, it actually stabilizes and slows down your heart rate. And you can see it go from the hundreds to the 90s, down into the 80s, and brings your heart rate and your resting heart rate down to a really steady, beautiful, coherent heartbeat. And that's a really beautiful thing when you can see physical evidence of it and you found your balance. So yes, there are tools, and we give them to you in this guide as well, in the book 6 Weeks to Happy.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I think it's really important that we invest in ourselves, isn't it? Like, we have to, it comes back to that self-belief stuff and that self-love and self-care, that we really need to invest in ourselves. And I often think of it as, we're maintaining a home because this is where we live, right? This is the only one we get. And so often, and we're going to go into mindset in a second, but if the mindset's not right, the rest of the house is a bit of a mess. Mm-hmm. and it's the same. It's the same in your own home. If you're in a bit of a mess, so's the house.
Yes, absolutely. We're a reflection, and that's one of the things, in terms of your needs. If you're a person that likes things neat and tidy, I am one of those people. It's very difficult for me to be in a messy room and feel at peace.
Yeah.
If my room around me is minimalist and clean and tidy and organized and everything's put away neatly, it's so much easier for my mind to feel that way. And so, but if you're a person that likes clutter and lots of knickknacks and lots of souvenirs, then maybe that's your thing. Then you need to be with someone who's as messy or who loves as many trinkets as you do. If you're with a clean person that likes a particular aesthetic, you need to find an environment and a person that also can do the same for you, because otherwise you're just going to be resisting. It creates resistance in the body, right? Yeah. When that happens, you're not at peace, you're not in good physical health. And so all of these tools are to take that resistance away and bring you back into a state of balance.
Now, I wanted to just touch on briefly growth mindset, because this one's been sitting in the back of my head since you went through Rewire. But when we got on the call, like, we haven't seen each other for 2.5 years, and we kind of checked in and we were like going through all the things that have happened in the last 2 years, and we've achieved a lot in that time, like a lot. You and I are growth mindset people who do stuff and achieve things and make change. Have you ever met people in your life where you'll be away from them for 2 years, you'll check back in and they've done nothing in 2 years, and you're just going, what have you been doing? What's going on?
Absolutely. There are a ton of people programmed this way. I mean, I don't see it as much in my personal life because I only choose growth mindset people in my personal life. I mean, your family don't get to choose. So some people have a difficult time when, family is, I call them persistent complaints. When people around them, friends or family or colleagues or whoever, are stuck in patterns where they're persistent complainers, where this is particularly toxic is in the work environment. Because think of a new employee that comes in, green, fresh with energy, ready to thrive and make things grow. And all of a sudden, all of those old bad morale people are, stamping them down, stamping them down, stamping them down with their persistent complaints. There's a certain thing in, which you learn about when you study positive psychology and neuroscience, is called social and emotional contagion. Did you know that you are 7% more likely to be happy with every single person within a few mile radius that is also happy? And the converse is also true. If you have people around you that are unhappy, stuck in persistent complainers, you are that much more likely to also be unhappy yourself. So what's the moral of the story? Choose your tribe wisely. You get to choose who you surround yourself with to foster your growth. It's amazing to me that people always stay in that stuck place, because the thing about being human, the thing about this beautiful journey of ours is we are meant to heal the heart. We are meant to chase after our dreams and our visions. They were given to us for a reason. I believe that the human part of us is going through this thing called life, but the soul, the spirit inside of us has these grand visions for what we are meant to do in this world. You are doing great work, Bindi, because you're one of those change makers that's bringing great things and great conversations to people through all of your different podcast endeavors that are helping people and introducing them to conversations they wouldn't otherwise have. So you are already doing that. You're giving them a platform. So maybe you're bringing some of those stuck people in and expanding their horizons or expanding their minds to maybe adopt a new way of thinking and a new way of being. And that's a beautiful thing. So as people who are now learning how to find the tools for happiness and success ourselves, you have to be militant and protect that energy fiercely. You have to say, I am no longer going to choose to be around the people or spend large amounts of time, if you can't choose them, around people who are going to bring me down or derail me or deter me from my path. You have to protect that and choose to surround yourself with people that are there to support you for your growth. And listen, as you start to evolve, one of the very hard lessons is not everyone's going to stand up and cheer for you, especially the guys that are stuck. Guys, I mean people. The people that are stuck need you to stay in that dynamic. It's gonna maybe require you for you to reject that and move outside of that and say, I love you, but I just can't right now. So I'm going to choose me, and I'm going to choose to surround myself with people that are there for my growth and my expansion, and they can be my cheerleaders because they know I'm going to cheer them on as well. And then you step into a whole new elevated way of being. And that's one of the steps to making sure that you stay in that elevated mindset.
And that's where boundaries come in, like where we go, you know what, I'm not participating in that anymore. I know there's people in my life that are like, they keep dredging up this stuff. And I'm like, you know what, I don't want to spend my energy on that anymore. It's far too valuable for me to bring it down to that vibration anymore. I just can't do it because, as you said, we've got a finite amount of energy, and if we're wasting it on that stuff, what are we going to bring into our life? More of it. So let's focus on the good and what we can do with the energy and the time that we have, instead of dragging other people down into our misery.
100%.
And, they say misery loves company, but, you don't have to be there. You have a choice, and you can put a boundary in place that you're not in that pity party either.
That's so true. And a lot of people don't know how to create boundaries. They're uncomfortable with it, or they don't know how to do it in a way that makes them feel good. And as a coach, there's a 3-step approach to creating a boundary. You ask yourself 3 questions, and it goes like this. You're asked something challenging, or maybe something you don't want to do by a friend, colleague, whoever, family member, whoever. You first ask, do I have it to give? Yes or no. The second question you ask is, am I willing to give it? Yes or no. And then the last question is, under which conditions am I willing to give it? So you may have a dear friend that you've known for 20 or 30 years, and you don't want to cut this person out of your life, but all they do is complain, or they go on and on and on about past mistakes. You don't have to cut them out of your life, but you do get to say, I love this person. Do I have it to give? Not right now. I'm focusing on me. I'm focusing on my work that's going to derail me, derail my energy. Am I willing to give it? Yes, but in a very small dose at this point. You don't need to give 3 hours once a week anymore. You can give a 10-minute phone call and then break it off. Under what conditions am I willing to give it? I get a small amount. You get a small amount of my time every week. I love you, but I'm also going to coach you to say, I really can't talk about the negativity right now. How are you doing otherwise? Tell me what else is going on in your life, or do it in some other way that makes you feel okay. So those are the 3 steps for boundaries that are really important.
I actually found myself saying to someone today when they were going through that past kind of stuff, I was just like, you know what, I'm not going to spend my energy on it anymore. I'm done. And they were like, oh, but you got to do something about it. I'm like, I am nothing.
I am. I'm exiting it.
Now, before we were talking about these archetypes and the quiz that you have on your website. Now, do you want to just tell us where people can go if they want to do the quiz? I've done it. We'll go through my results. So,
sure. Oh, fabulous.
Yeah. So where can they go if they want to do this same quiz?
So all they have to do is go to 6weekstohappy.com and take the quiz. The quiz is called the Life Block Quiz. And what it does is it's a set of 50 questions that are designed to elicit your subconscious response. So don't think about it. Don't answer it. I've had a lot of people come to me and say, I wanted to answer it the way I wish to be. And I say, no, it's because the language is meant to trip you up a little bit, like most of these personality quizzes. It's designed to figure out who you are in your journey, what were your subconscious beliefs, but also the questions are time bound. So where are you now? Maybe you were once this way and you're still that way. Maybe you were once this way, but now you're not. Now you're making slightly smarter choices. So it's designed for that. And what comes out is, we all have, so I talked about those 5 core needs, and the 5 subconscious beliefs that go with it are, I'm alone, I don't have support in this world. I'm not safe, I'm not protected. I'm not loved, or I'm not deserving or worthy of love. I'm alone. No, I said that. I'm not capable of wealth, success, abundance. And the last is, I'm enough, I'm not enough, is basically that subconscious belief. And all of the fear patterns that go with that. Now, when you take this quiz, what you get is you don't just get all of those, we don't usually all have all 5 of those. Usually most people will have 2 or 3 operating within you. So it's important to figure out which are your 2 or 3, so you can then figure out how to develop a healthier way of being. Some of them have more. Some people have said they have more. But what comes out is it maps out in an animal archetype what your personality profile is in a very, very detailed way. So let's say, we'll take the same example we used before, which is, let's say your subconscious belief is, I'm alone in this world. Well, your animal archetype then would be, maybe you're an eagle. And so what an eagle does is, if you were designed at your early stages to believe that you were alone in this world, guess what? That then develops into a strength. If you really believe that you're alone in this world, you also figure out how to navigate yourself. You figure out how to be resourceful. You figure out how to be resilient. You figure out how to be unstoppable. And maybe you want a really elevated life for yourself, because that all plays into those things. And so what comes out is a set of values that you honor, that become part of your personality and part of your strengths. And if you then know what your values and your needs are, you can then design a life that excites you, that actually plays into your values, because your values are what are the things that are important to you. And so take the Life Block Quiz. It takes about 10 minutes. Sometimes people take 10 or 15 minutes if you really want to put a lot of thought. You don't have to. Answer them quickly, answer them instinctively. Just trust your intuition as you're taking the quiz. And then what comes out is a full read of 3 of your animal archetypes. You'll get 2 or 3 major ones, and you may get, let's say, 2 minor ones where you get a slightly lower score, but they're also important. And then you get an animal archetype guidebook, which actually maps out all of the different archetypes and your personality profile. And you really get to see who you are. But the fun thing about it is, when you start reading through all of these animal archetypes, you also start to see personalities around you. And you can say, oh my God, this person's a cheetah, this person is a wolf, and this person is a peacock. And oh my God, if I only understood that this person was a bull, now I understand how to reach them on a different level. And now you can communicate with each other as two human beings who have gone through similar journeys, who have gone through similar conditions, and can understand each other. So instead of resisting each other in that communication, it allows for a deeper sense of compassion and opens up a new conversation where we get to just normalize and change the narrative on what it means to be a human on this journey. So it's a really fun little tool that you can share with the people around you as well.
It is really cool. Now, I'm going to ask you, Zahra, what do you think I came out as?
I'm going to say you are part stallion.
Ooh.
Am I right?
Keep going.
Okay, I'm going to say you are probably a cheetah as well, because you get things done and you have multiple businesses and you're a person that takes action. Based on our conversation at the beginning, what we've both accomplished in the last 2 years was an enormous amount, more than most people would have. So I'm going to say you're a cheetah because you're definitely a take action person. I'm going to stop there because I'm not sure about the rest.
Well, the primary one that came up for me without unlocking the others was dolphin.
Oh, you're playful. I love that. So you value peace and harmony. I'm also part dolphin.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I think if I
dolphins
unlocked the
really-
other two, that you'd probably be bang on with the other two. So
Yeah. Well, I'll send you a promo code that you can share and give your all of your audience 20% off so they can take the full personality profile as well, because it's really a beautiful way to uncover, who you are, but also your subconscious beliefs. Instead of having to take 20 or 30 years to unpack them, this quiz pulls it right up and says, here's what you need to do to move forward in a healthy way. Dolphin, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
I love that.
yeah.
So
And
you're playful by nature and you don't love confrontation. You like for everyone to get along. You like peace and harmony around you.
Yep. Yep, I'm a peacemaker.
Yeah.
But if people want to do that quiz, you go to rewiremindsystem.com and the quiz is there on the homepage and you can go through the steps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've consolidated all of our websites so they can go to lifeblockquiz.com or 6weekstohappy.com. It's just easier to remember. And then we'll send you a promo code to put in the post as well so people can access that.
That's
And
fantastic.
just playing with it. It's so fun.
Thank you so much. Look, as you know, I could talk about this stuff all day and I think you could too. And I think one day we will. But you've been on the show before. You know the drill. I'm going to ask you that same big question again, but I just want to I want to know whether things have changed in the last 2.5 years from your perspective on what the change is you want to see in the world and how we can bring it to life.
Is that the question? What change do I want to see in the world?
Yeah.
I think this is the change I want to see in the world. I think I'm doing the work, and so are you, to bring this change into the world. If people can just develop that self-awareness and understand that, we all feel like we're doing it wrong, and then the person next to us has the secret to be in perfect health and perfect fitness and to have love and have a relationship that's loving and healthy and to create abundance and wealth. And we all feel like we're secretly doing it wrong. And guess what? I promise you, I have worked in the coaching world and I have worked with global executives from billion-dollar companies, multi-billion-dollar companies. And it doesn't matter if you're a student, if you are just hitting the job market, if you are a middle manager, senior executive, I promise you, they all have an I'm not good enough, or I'm not lovable, or I'm alone in this world, or any one of those 5 beliefs. If you are a human being on this planet, you are going through the same journey. So if there's any change I want to see is to normalize, who are you? And what are the things that make you feel most excited and alive? And what are the things that allow you to be vulnerable? We need to start talking about this as a normal part of conversation. We need to shift the narrative. Look at we're watching the Summer Olympics around the world right now, right? Simone Biles, for example, who did an amazing job on the US team in women's gymnastics, she took a year off for mental health. And over the last few years, the whole conversation around stress and mental health has become, tip of our tongues. It has become mainstream and in the forefront. We need to keep doing that and talk about what it is to be human. And if we can all get to a place where we all feel more peaceful, more lovable, more safe, more connected, and though we're enough, this whole world would be different. We would have less issues and polarization in our global politics. I'm in the middle of a US election, which probably looks bizarre to the rest of the world. We have the war in Israel and Palestine and now other parts of the world. And in that region, we have Russia and Ukraine at war. I mean, if we all had more inner peace and we loved ourselves more, there would be less religious hate, there would be less hate, there would be less racism, there would be less everything, less body shaming, less every little thing that contributes to our feeling like we're doing it wrong and not doing it enough. And we would finally be in a place where we could be peaceful and happy and productive and joyful in this world. And I think that would be a really beautiful place to live in.
Wouldn't it ever? But I think, if we were to wrap this up in a bow, Zahra, it would be that everyone has the same tools to be happy and they can get them all from you because, we've gone through them today and everybody has access to the same tools. We're all the same humans and we can follow the same kind of techniques and everybody has access to happy. And I think that's probably the most important thing out of this conversation. So, and we're all human going through the same human experience.
Absolutely. And it's not that difficult. I promise. All it takes is 10 to 15 minutes per day and you can shift everything for the lifetime. It's so worth it. Don't wait. Get on your road to happiness and success today and better health, more love. Everything that you ever desired is possible.
And that's
Small
it.
change.
We just say you got to be the change. It starts with us, right? So
Yes.
It
Absolutely.
is an absolute joy for me to be with you. Thank you so much for rejoining us again on The Ethical Evolution.
Thank you so much as well, Bindi, and thank you for your great work.
Thanks for listening to the Ethical Evolution podcast. If you're ready to be the change and would love to work with me on finding your voice through spiritual coaching or creating your own podcast with impact, visit ethicalchangeagency.com. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's growing every day with great content and highlights you may not have heard on the podcast. In addition, please subscribe to the podcast on Spotify or Apple, and why not leave a 5-star review? If you're not following me on social media, you can find me at Ethical Change Agency on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, and at DJ Bindi on TikTok and Instagram.
Have you ever wondered what actually happens in Congress every day? Stay informed on Capitol Hill's daily happenings with a concise, factual summary of the Senate and House of Representatives' activities from the previous session, free from bias, on the Congressional Record Daily Digest podcast. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and discover the process from the heart of U.S. politics. The Congressional Record Daily Digest, an Electricast production.
Hey, heard you like podcasts. Well, check out Dollar Bets. Two sports guys with faces for radio, betting live money against each other on air. That's Dollar Bets with a Z. Find us on the Winner's Edge.